Right, so I'm a bit early. Is that focused all right? Yes, a little bit better, I suppose. So, just going to set the lathe up for sanding. Going to be finishing off these. Hopefully that won't take too long and we can get started on next week's ones. So next week going to be doing some Neptune pens out of them. So you got Fountain Telling Clock Strikes 12. It's one of my gold and yellow ones, and that is just an acrylic. I'm not going to put them up there because they'll probably fall off and that'll cause me to swear lots. So we'll pop them down there. And then we've got some raw. That one I think is another turnt one. And these three are mine. So they're there ready for that. Files can go away. Going to need that. We are not going to need that, not going to need them. I can stay there, they can go up there. It's to guard from splashes over the tools. That is to catch anything that possibly may fling off. That is to catch the crud. So we need more sandpaper. That's okay. Do a little bit more of that. Those two are okay. Right. Liquid pop. Just grabbing some sandpaper. Do. Bear with me 1 second. Just gonna trap that behind there. Right, feel free to ask any questions, make suggestions. and generally just chat, makes things a bit more interesting for the people watching as well as me, because this is most pen makers' least favourite job. I don't mind it, gives me time to think, but like I said, most pen makers don't enjoy sanding. So if you want to chat or whatever, laugh at me dropping things all over the place, it's fine by me. So at some point today you will see the shine appear on the materials. I might set up so that I have the small camera pointing when I start polishing. Right, where are we? We are here. So I'm going to start with the yellow one, simply because it's the first one that I grabbed. Oh, someone said hello. Hello, how are you? Oh, would help if I had. Right. So the basic general rule for sanding. Yeah, I finish early on Fridays, so hence why I'm here early. The basic rule of sanding is what you're doing is just removing the last lot of scratches. So the 250 and the 150 sandpaper will leave scratches on the material, but they'll get rid of the scratches from the file. This one will get rid of the scratches from the 150 and the 250. The next one will get rid of the scratches from this one. The one following that will get rid of the scratches from that. The one following that will get rid of scratches from that, and then the polish will fill up any remaining scratches, so that it looks like a smooth finish. What you'll generally find is that there will be very, very minute scratches still, even after all that. But as long as you get all of the deep ones out, it should have a flawless finish by the end of it. There are certain materials which are easier to sand than others. For example, black ebonite will show up every single tiny little scratch. Well, black materials in general. And I'm very conscious that we've got a black pen here in this lot. And then there's the matter of polishing on the inside as well, where you use a stick with sandpaper on the end and like a flag. You stick that in and do it that way. So that should be So the reason why I have the light pointing as I do is because the light will show the scratches. My favourite material. Depends on the pen model. Ebonite's a lovely material to work with, but it stinks, and the threading can be a bit difficult. Alumilite is probably my favourite, which is this, just because of ease and the fact that you can get so much variation within the material itself. Acrylic's a bit of a nightmare to work with. It can be brittle. I have more failures on acrylic than I do on any other material. Where things will just crack and they become unusable. So when you're making a cap, you can get these materials which look like mashed together pebbles or stones, and on the edge of each of the stones, as it were, there is a natural fail point. So when you're putting a thread into a cap, if it cracks, it will be along one of those lines, and it is a pain in the butt. I'll show you what I mean by mashed together pebbles. So like that. So around each of these bits, around each of these bits here, there'll be a sort of a natural point of, if it's going to break, it'll break there. So I don't use much of that. I mean, it's a pretty common material to come across. I've got loads of it. I will. Oh, you see my storage of blanks over there? One of those alcoves is full of it. I do use them occasionally. It's not like I can't work with them, it's just I choose not to half the time because I'll have something else. And that's it's a material with a finish that you can't get with Alumilite as well. So whereas the Alumilite materials are very swirly, or good for flat colours, you can't get that sort of finish with it. The other material you can get that sort of finish with cellulose acetate, which is a bit easier to work with. It's a bit softer, but then you've got the whole flammable aspect to it. You can't do it with ebonite because that's the way that's made is in sheets. So you have sheets and you roll it together and squash. The LCD screen on the lathe seems to be on the way out. That's going to be a pain. Sometimes, especially on the end of flat pens, you'll get an area where you can't quite get a decent finish on the lathe because you'll just get spirals. So you have to do it by hand. First one done. So I do like this material. This is Black Ice Abalone by Turnt. So this has that annoying texture down this end. So we'll try and get rid of that. Sometimes you get materials that, oh, it's the light that's gone on the LED screen. Okay. Sometimes you get these annoying little imperfections that you've just got to work through. So it's these types of materials that the further you go down the grits of the sandpaper, the more it sort of pops. Why did I become a pen maker? Because when I first started using fountain pens, I dove into it head first, and I was looking for the next pen online, and I discovered that you could get such a thing as custom fountain pens, and being quite poor, I looked at the price and I almost had a heart attack. Thought to myself that I'd never be able to afford what I wanted, so that I had access to a lathe at work. I decided to get some materials and have a go at making my own. And it went from there, basically. So yeah, that's why I became a pen maker, because I wanted a custom pen but couldn't afford it at the time. And what could be more custom than making it yourself? light on that LED is completely gone now. Oh, don't ask me that. Lots. I still buy pens, and I've just ordered a custom pen from another maker. So I'm looking forward to that one coming. I don't know, because generally if I'm working on something and it doesn't go quite to plan, if Annika doesn't want it, I'll keep it for myself. And so I have a drawer in my house which has got all of my sort of factory rejects that I've kept for myself in it. And if I fancy using one, I just swap a nib out from one of my other pens. So I've got loads of pen bodies, but only a few nibs that fit them. So that's how I sort of keep control of it. Plus it means if I've got a nib that I really like, and I just move it from pen to pen to pen. In fact, I do have a couple of nibs that I really, really like. So I like using quite shimmery and quite sheeny inks. I like the different properties of different inks. So I'll have nibs that are pretty much specifically for those types of inks. I have a limit of how much I will spend on a pen. And compared to some people, that limit's quite small, but compared to others, that limit's quite big. Right. Number 2, so that has popped, so I like to say. So the shimmeriness of the material has really come out. The depth of some of the parts is really there, so you can see sort of there's a translucent bit just around here. Just hope that that finish comes up nice. This one I've got to be careful because there's big chunky glitter in this one. If a big chunky bit of glitter comes out, it just means there's going to be a big dent in the pen and I'm going to have to go back to shaping it. I don't particularly want to do that. Oh, I just realised I'm not wearing my apron. If I put that on, otherwise I'm just going to get crud all over my jumper. This is a blank where I had to colour match a pen I'd already made. We had 2 people wanting the same pen. Don't think it was. Might have been. Did you tell me? Um, I mean, if it's one of my own blanks, I don't mind trying to make the blank again and effectively trying to remake the pen. And there'll be differences in it, obviously, but I don't mind giving that a go, like I've done with this one. It's typical that the one it happened to is the one with the chunky glitter that I don't like using, which is oh, that's a bit too bright. You see that? My daughters love it because I've always got glitter up here. Daddy, can I use your glitter? Ah, yes, that is this one. I still have the mix if you wanted me to make one. Yeah, I called it that because I didn't particularly want to call it Purple Rain, which is the name that immediately came to mind when I saw it, or when I made it. There's normally a stupid reason behind the names of my pens. And occasionally you'll find one that's called something like, I couldn't think of a name for this one. It's genuinely because I couldn't think of a name. Or the red one with sparkly bits. I think I named one that blue one once. At this point, I've got to check the end of. Oh no, because it's curved in, so that's fine. I used to have music going on in the workshop all the time, but because I'm streaming, if I put music on, I'll get a copyright strike, which is a pain. And because these are uploaded to YouTube afterwards, we'll get a copyright strike there as well. So I either need to find copyright free music, make my own, not going to happen, or pay up licensing fees, which are just going to be ridiculous, so not going to happen. Always love a green pen. I can't play guitar, so yeah, it would be hard. I think after this, what I'm going to do is I shall drill and tap all of the faceless models that I've got sitting aside, so I've made the sections for them. That's all it needs doing, and then I can put them over by the device for filing. See if I can get rid of those scratches that I've been doing by hand after I've done all. So here's a question: what made you get into fountain pens then? I've got to pick the green and white blank. I'm going to turn into a pen over the weekend as well. Fair enough. I've written 2 full books now, by hand using my fountain pens. I toyed with the idea of going back to college and doing creative writing, or going to Open University and doing a creative writing course. And then I just sat down and started writing. Figured it'd be easier. It's no coursework if you're writing it for yourself. I'm currently working on short stories at the moment, although the one that I'm doing I've done a couple. The one that I've done, okay, fair enough. The short story that I'm writing at the moment is becoming longer and longer and longer. I don't mind. It gives me something to do in the evenings. Although we have just finished watching The Sopranos for the first time. Okay. So when it comes to vampires, what's your stance? Are they of the romantic gothic variety, or are they of the monster variety? I.e., are they Anne Rice sort of Lestat type vampires, or are they more Nosferatu, Count Orlok vampires? It was Count Orlok, wasn't it? Nosferatu. Might be wrong. It's just the one that I wasn't looking forward to. Okay. Modern setting or historical? Or fantasy, or maybe even science fiction?
Okay. The first book that I wrote um, was cyberpunk, and it was a detective story. The second one was fantasy with elements of Lovecraftian horror. Um, the one I'm working on at the moment is fantasy. I'll probably write some, and a short story I've written was horror, very Clive Barker-esque.
Yeah, it can do. I'm currently reading, ploughing through the books of blood. Um, I've been doing sort of mini reviews of each story and putting them up on the Facebook groups, um, just to give me another excuse to use my pens. Uh, so yeah, some of them have been a bit grim. Some of them have been, I found, quite dull, but then I found horror historically quite not my favourite genre anyway. I only started reading this to try and broaden my horizons a little bit, but still keep somewhat within my comfort zone. Yeah, that's the one. That hangnail. Well, it starts with a hangnail. I wouldn't say it was about a hangnail. Yeah, I wrote that when I was, I think, on the third, maybe fourth volume of Books of Blood. Hence why it had a very Clive Barker feel to it. I think literature in general is a way of doing that, to be fair. Even going back to the classics. We've got Dickens' commentary on Victorian society,
at various points. You have Wu Engchen's satire of Chinese society in Monkey. Um, and then in the modern day stuff, you've got stuff that can be more depressing, but that's what people are after these days. It seems like in general fiction. Gone are the days where books about high adventure in a fantasy world with elves, dwarves, hobbits. People want family and noble houses fighting each other all the time and chopping each other's heads off. And it depends on the fantasy, really. I've read some really dark stuff, really depressing stuff sometimes. Also read some really dull stuff. I mean, how can you make fantasy dull? You've got all that scope. It is a special skill. Occasionally, I used to work in a very well-known bookshop chain, and fantasy and science fiction and horror and graphic novels and all that sort of stuff was my sort of area. So occasionally I would get given books by the publishers to read and review, and I would read them, and then I would struggle to find something good to say about them. Probably shouldn't do that. And one of my favourite authors is Terry Pratchett. I know there are a lot of people out there that don't like him, but there's also a lot of people out there that do. I think at one point, I think I've still got them, but definitely at one point I had all of the Discworld novels. And some of the the kids ones from when I was a kid. I couldn't pick a favourite really. They were so much of my sort of teenage years was spent reading those books. I mean, I used to look forward to it because working in the bookshop, I basically knew when a new one was coming out, and so it would be something to look forward to each time. And I still haven't read the last one. Not gonna lie, I have to take a few moments out when talking about the Discord stuff because I get a little bit upset. This one is a colour change. So this has got a colour change material. So you see that yellow bit that's spinning round, that was that colour. This sort of pink bit was more that sort of purple bit at the end. This bit does turn light blue, but you have to get it decent temperature. It's a Vanagand model and it's just a stock pen. So I'm starting to make stock pens ready for the show in October. I've got about 80 that I'm going to be taking, between 80 and 100 pens. Yeah, like I said, this is the colour change one. You can see that yellow there. That was that orange there. And that pink there was sort of that colour. Although with the light you probably can't see it very well. Oh, I'm not going to the Newcastle one because it's just too far away from us. My wife does all the driving, so she put her foot down and said, no, we're not doing Newcastle. So we did Birmingham earlier on in the year, We've done London repeatedly since COVID, well, since before COVID. Um, yeah, I don't think we've missed a London show that's been held since back then. Did you? I can't remember. Oh, I can't remember yesterday, to be fair. I have a very, very crap memory. Yeah, generally speaking, I'm quite right. So you'll probably laugh at this. So I'm quite introverted. So putting stuff on stream and putting stuff in a very public way, like I am at the moment, is completely against my normal nature. Going to pen shows is completely against my normal nature. Not a fan of big crowds. Hate the sound of my own voice. I started putting stuff directly from Twitch streams to YouTube, because it means I don't have to edit it. It's just there and it's done, and I don't have to worry about. Well, I do have to worry about it because some of them are a bit long, but I don't have to worry about it really, because I can just put it there. It's there. If I want to make something specific, I can do. It just saves me having to edit it and listen to my own voice for too long. So yeah, that's the reason for the streaming over YouTube videos, pre-recorded YouTube videos anyway. The editing was the bit I hated the most, so I stopped doing it. Which means all of my mistakes, every time my fingers go into the chuck, it's all caught on camera. People can laugh at me. Right, so that's the caps done. So I can take my, that mistake's going to be caught as well. Take my, can never remember what they're called. Not tenon, something or other. There is a name for them. Take that out. I'll do the bodies next. Just this one. So I made all these out of the brass that I've got there. I made this one so that, I'll see if I've got my other pen, which has got the so if I'm doing a size 8 nib, for example, they need a bigger section, which will have a bigger job at the end. Pretty sure this is bigger. This is going to be the same size, isn't it? Yeah. Ignore me being an idiot again. I thought that one was the bigger size, but it's not. So when I'm doing a thicker pen, I'll sometimes drill out this bit a bit wider, which is why it's got two sets of threads there. So you've got the first set of threads, which is for the normal pens, and then if I've got it a bit wider, then it will go all the way to the end. most pen collectors, most gamers, most most of my hobbies that I have, the common thread between them is that that introvertedness. So this is where I've got to be careful, because I will stick myself in the hand with that bit, and that hurts. Do this up to the required grip, and then it's always the check of whether they are still the same diameter. So if they're not, it's a pain in the nuts. It looks like we've got some more viewers. Hello. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Use the chat function. Got any comments? Or want to just have a bit of chat? Doesn't have to be about pens. Feel free. If you want to ask me what the answer to life, the universe, and everything is, it's 42. So there's a freebie. Wonder. Bear with me. Right, as I was saying earlier, we should get through all of this. I'll try and move the camera to the other side to get the polishing on there as well. Might have to work out how to do that on the fly, because I've never done it before, because this is something that I'm not used to doing. That's that one. So we're finishing off 6 pens today. I'm going to get them all sanded and polished. And then I've got a bunch of caps and barrels I want to drill out, ready for hand sanding. I'll show you which ones I mean. So these are all the ones that are going to be hand carved into the pens with all the facets. Oh god, that depends. If I'm this week, I've not really been on it very much. I've not been very efficient, and so I've only done 6. But there was a week where I made 12, I think. Because normally speaking, I would do the sections on the Monday, sort of thin them all out so that they're all to the right diameter. Barrels and caps on the Tuesday, and that's one lot of pens done. And I'll do that on the Wednesday, Thursday for the second lot, and then I would do all the sanding on the Friday, maybe Saturday as well. Are you going to say hello, yeah? You're not going to say hello? Oh, okay. My wife just popped her head in. She doesn't want to say hello. In fact, it was her that made this pen blank. Occasionally I'll do a stream of making pen blanks. I think I've done one of those so far. Thinking of varying things a little bit and doing streams of the blank making, some of the more metalwork stuff, maybe some photography. And just maybe lathe maintenance as well. It depends what people want, really. When it comes to the pen side of stuff, I'm willing to pretty much put anything up there. Right. There we go. That's the first barrel done. Fingers crossed they still... Yep. That's good. So this one's got that annoying texture towards the threads. Well, I'm allergic to the Alumilite. I mean, there you go, there's the warning signs. Yeah, in its liquid form, it's not very nice stuff. Like I said, I'm allergic to it, so I have to wear the apron. I've got to wear a full-on face mask so that I don't breathe in the fumes and whatever it may give off. I've got to wear rubber gloves so that I don't get it on the skin. I got it on my skin once and then rubbed my face, and I came up with a rash all over my face. It wasn't very pleasant. And I have a few people that are allergic to it that make pen blanks. Yeah, we have another viewer. Hello. Yeah, I mean, wood still has its problems because when you're making a pen out of wood, you've got to coat it with something so that it's waterproof. And what you coat it with is normally super glue. Is that a bit of glitter or is that a hole? That is a bit of glitter. Good, good. Is the camera clear enough, by the way? Does it need zooming in at all? I'm sure still, blah, put the teeth back in. I'm still trying to get everything so it looks the best. That one actually didn't have some movement. In fact, that one's the last. Thank you.
Still looks like a bit of I think that's the beginning of a hole, but not quite a hole. See what it looks like after polishing. What I might have to do is drill it out and fill it with something. I'm getting lots of notifications on my phone. Anything I need to take notice of? Nope. Fingers crossed. Moment of truth. Still good. Now, does the pattern outline in any of the three? Almost. Here's a question: when you have a book of a film, or the original book that a film was based upon, do you ever read through it just to spot the differences from one to the other? Obviously, with the different mediums, there is you can get away with a lot more in one than you can the other. American Psycho, for example, if you read the book and then you watch the film, fair enough. Breakthrough. Although there are some where
um, you can finish what was originally written in roughly the same amount of time. For example, Green Mile was a short story by Stephen King, as you probably know. Um, you could probably read that in the same amount of time it will take you to watch the film. Hellbound Heart would take you a bit longer because it's a full novel rather than just a short story, from what I remember. In fact, most of Stephen King's ones that have been made into films, I think the most successful ones have been the ones that are short stories. Um, a lot of Philip K. Dick stuff is shorter as well. So, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, just made into Blade Runner. That's quite a short one. I also find that with some books they miss out big chunks. So, for example, most Dracula um, films will miss out a big chunk of the book. Going back to vampires again. Which one? Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? I would agree with you on that one. That is probably my favourite. One of my favourite films. I think they could have put Tom Bombadil in. I don't think it would have ruined the film. Just trying to think of what other films from books where they've missed out big chunks. I mentioned Dracula. You said Tom Bombadil. What else is there? My brain has gone completely dead. Yeah, but Disney changed the most of the sort of fairy tale Disney films have been changed from the source material so much anyway. So yep, most of them were pretty much warnings. Still getting loads of notifications on my phone. You too. Take care. Thank you for chatting. I'm not going to know what to say now. So all we're doing that now is we're just finishing off these pens. Then we're going to drill and thread those ones over there. If anyone has anything they want to say, feel free to use chat. Or if you just want to, I don't know, you just have a nice chat on a Friday afternoon. It doesn't have to be about pens, it can be about anything. So this one is a custom pen, as is this one. The colour change one is for stock. Those in there are for stock. These will get put up on the website at some point over the weekend. Hopefully, I've got some more that I made before I went away that I need to put up on the website that I forgot because I'm an idiot. So we'll get those put up as well. get. I need to get the camera set up over there, so I can just sort of plug it in and then change screens if need be. That'll be handy. That would actually be a bloody good idea. Take this off the road first. Maybe if this channel works, then I can do that later in the future. As this is just an experiment to see how things go. So we've got about 1.5 hours left. We've got 2 barrels to sand. We've got, please don't get a hole. We've got all the pens to polish, which won't take very long. We've got those to do if we have time. If we not have time, I might kick off early. Though I have said I'd go until about 4ish. Got their money to turn to round as well. I'm tired. I want to go to bed. Tired. Looks like we're going to be muttering to ourselves the rest of the stream. Oh well, never mind. Teach myself how to do that in a minute, once no one's watching. Right, so sections are not going to take very long at all. That's generally the quickest part to sand. They'll all just get plugged into this, and then that'll spin, and then we just sand them until the marks. Most of the deep scratch is already gone, so I pre-sanded them with the 250. So that just speeds things up at this stage a little bit. And get these done. I zoned out for a second though. Just thinking about how I would put a metal ring that sort of goes over onto the barrel on the cap, so that it sort of fits into the cap that goes over the barrel. Seeing whether I could get that to work, because that would help me with the problem of the materials splitting when you're threading into it, because the bit of metal that you put into the barrel would already be threaded, and you would just put that in there and get you out of the problem of having to thread a thin material which may split on you. Like I said, the metal would already be threaded, and then that would fit onto the you have to have an oversized cap to make it look decent. Would that work though? Would it look any good? I suppose it depends on the pen. A pen that's relatively thin, you know, a cap that's thick, that would look great. But then if you just have the ring that was the big bit, everything else is the same, you'd have to have an opaque material around the end of the cap so that you would then put it in so that you couldn't see where the metal went in. But then you'd have to it wouldn't work, because you'd have to have a thin insert into the metal. So you'd have to turn a slot into the metal, which the cap would then fit into to be glued. So how would I turn a slot in a bit of metal that was? Could you? I'd have to measure that. But that wouldn't work because it would warp the edge of the metal. how would I do that? How would I put a trench going around the perimeter of a bit of metal, not going around, so it had a lip, then a trench, then a lip, which was then threaded so the cap would fit in, and then you could shape the end of that so that you only had a thin bit of metal afterwards. How would you do that? Because there must be a way, because you could do it. You could definitely do it on the lathe some way. You couldn't use parting tool because it would stress the metal too much. You'd have to have the parting tool of the right thickness for your cap. So, how would you do it? How would you do it? I suppose I could try it with plastic first, use off cut and try and cut to try and fit it over. Could be overthinking it though. Could just make it flush and have it glued in so that it Am I overthinking it? Probably. I tend to overthink things.
starting to get quite peckish as well. Should probably eat something at some point. Ow. Poke yourself at the end of the pen. Right, so that is all of the bodies done. So just the sections. So 6 of these to do. These should be quite quick because you don't need to turn the lathe off between each step. That should be done. What is that noise? Right, so trying to get under light. I've seen there's a couple of scratches I just need to quickly get rid of.
better. Yep. Right, next one. I'm knackered, so I might stop this after we've done these. I won't do the other bits. Oh. I've just seen how dodgy the small camera looks when I'm doing this. Makes my childish sense of humour giggle. Three more to go after this one. 2 hours and 30 seconds time. To use this actually to time how long it takes me to make batches of pens. I don't think I'm going to video the polishing. What I'll do is I will cut the stream early, get this uploaded up onto YouTube. I shall polish these and I'll post them on Facebook and my website on Monday. So this will be the first batch of pens that's made on the stream that will be going up for the usual Monday posts in the various Facebook groups. I did do a batch before, but I didn't put them up on the Monday after. And what we'll do is I'll think about how I'm going to set up a laptop, sorry, not a laptop, a camera over by the wood lathe for the inevitable polishing streams, which again, the polishing ones aren't going to be very interesting. It's the result that you get after the polishing that's interesting. As I've said numerous times, I'm very tired at the moment. I've got some stuff that I need to do indoors. And it's a good place to stop. And I've got to sort out what I'm going to do over the weekend, because I've had a request from someone to stream on the weekend. So I'll wait to hear back from them. And what I'll do is I'll work out what I'm going to make. It's going to be probably semi-scripted. I'll just have topics that I want to talk about as I'm making them. because it'll be one of the analysis videos of the materials. You okay with that? Okay. That was my lovely daughter. Wanting some chairs for the garden. This is the last one. I might need to sand some of these again. I don't know yet. Depends what the finish comes up like. Another thing with the polishing wheel, I have to wear the mask, so I can't really talk that clearly, and the microphone will be quite far away, so you won't be able to hear anything I say. So it'll be kind of dull until I get that side sorted out. Anyway, yeah, looks right. Now this one, the eagle-eyed of you will see that this one's a different shape to the rest of them, because this one's the one for the custom order. Now this is where you get most of the scratches on this particular designer section. So this is where most of the sanding is going to be. Well, most of the sanding will have to be done. Right, last bit of sandpaper on the last one. dead on 3 o'clock, hour early. What can you do? When you're as tired as I feel, it's not advisable to use machinery, especially when your fingers can get crushed. Well, can get broken by the spinny thing. Right. So that is everything done for today. I'm going to be screaming. No, I'm not going to be screaming. Hopefully not. Anyway, we're going to be streaming at some point over the weekend, depending on what this person wants me to do. I will put up notifications on the relevant social media. I might put something up on Instagram as well. See what happens. Right, thank you for watching, thank you for chatting, and take care. Have a good weekend.